Hello, I'm Silverman, and I want to show you the video game I'm working on. The game is called Medieval Life, and this is how it looks right now. Medieval Life is a first-person simulation game with 3D pixel art graphics. Currently it's in a super early stage of development, so I want to show you the progress I've made so far. In this game, you will have to live in a medieval village, have your own house, have a shop, for example as a farmer or as a baker, earn money, and use that money to buy things to eat, and buy clothes, and also decorate your own house. You can think it like a mix between Stardew Valley, The Sims, and Animal Crossing, but with a small cut. All in this game is procedurally generated, just like Minecraft or Terraria. This means every time you play this game, it will generate a new island with one or more villages with random houses, NPCs, and so on. So every time will be a different game experience. I have always dreamed about making this game since I had 10 years old. In fact, one of my earliest prototypes of the game is from 2009. I developed it when I had 12 years old. As you can see, it's super ugly, but at that time I was learning to code, and that was one of my first experiences with 3D. And in fact, I was using GameMaker, that is a game engine that is designed only for 2D games, and it does not have any tool for 3D games. So a lot of times I tried to develop my dream game, Medieval Life, but I didn't have the knowledge required. So after 11 years from that ugly prototype, I decided to start with all my new abilities in programming and make Medieval Life. So in June of the last year, I started with a small game design document. I created some sketches and outlines of my idea for the game. I feel like first-person games are more immersive, so I wanted Medieval Life to be in first person, and with a retro aesthetic, with pixel art textures and super low poly models like old games like Doom, Quake, or those old shooters. But with the difference that I don't want to add any kind of violence to the game. One of my pillars is to not add weapons, combat, or anything related to violence. I think there are enough violent games, and it is better if I develop a game around simulation that can be fun without killing anyone. So in November of that year I started doing some experiments, and I started programming in JavaScript using, well, TypeScript in fact, using 3JS, a 3D graphic library for JavaScript and TypeScript. I wanted to render a 3D model like if you were using sprites and not a 3D model. As you can see on the screen, the model is only rendered in angles multiples of 45 degrees, so it looks like an old retro school sprite. After that I started with the terrain generation algorithm. I wanted to be flexible enough to generate any type of biome and terrain, for example deserts, mountains, islands, and any kind of biome. Soon after that I realized that 3JS it wasn't enough for my needs. For example, the lighting system was not performant, so I decided to switch to Unity. It took me about 2 weeks, but I ported all to Unity. To my luck, TypeScript and C#, the programming language that Unity uses, are super similar, so porting the code was not so painful. I started with the house generation, and compared with other games I didn't want to use pre-made houses or house parts, so I made the house generator to create procedural 3D houses vertex by vertex. In this way I could have a lot of more control over the way the roof was generated, the placement of the walls, the textures, and so on. So currently the house generation algorithm is super basic, and it definitely needs a lot of more work. I am a student, so sometimes I have a lot of homework and I cannot make progress with the game. But whenever I have time, I try to remake some textures, improve others, or code something. I also had to learn how to do 3D modeling with Blender since I have never used Blender before. Here for example is the base 3D model I have made that will be the base for all the characters in the game. The idea is that each character will have different kind of hair, eyes, clothes, etc. The hair is pink because I use code to change the color palette of the hair, eyes and skin in real time. Maybe I can explain more about that in another video if you like, let me know in the comments. Another thing I want the game to have is that all interactions will be like The Sims. For example, you will click an object and it will open a menu with all possible interactions with that object. Sometimes I develop my own tools to help me develop faster. For example, here is a terrain visualization tool that it let me preview how a world is generated without having to spend time playing it. Last week I improved the terrain generator and added a system that generates tile sets or tile maps, taking as input this base tile map you see here of the grass and sand and snow, and then use that pieces to make the required tile sets according to what the terrain generator actually needs. For example, if the terrain generator needs a corner piece, it will request to the tile map generator a corner piece, and then the tile map generator will compose the required corner piece according to what the terrain generator needs. I'm also working on the interiors of the houses, but well, they are almost empty, but they are slowly progressing towards something more realistic. Well, I think that's all for today. So if you like this type of content, please let me know, and please leave a comment, a like, and if you like this and want to stay up to date, please subscribe. And well, I will see you in the next video. So bye. Bye.